Hi everyone, my name is Allie Muller. I am PICA's intern this summer, and I'm here today with
Karl Schnellinger. I'm a trustee of the PICA Foundation.
I have learned a lot about your past and heard a lot about it through PICA, but I wanted to know a little bit more about what it was like to grow up in Germany.
That's a long time ago. I was born in a small town. The population was 427. But then in 1939, when this terrible war broke out, my dad had to go to the army and things changed pretty rapidly.
Can I ask how old you were?
I was 6 years old at that time.
Okay.
We lived in Greatbridge, which is about 40 miles north of Hamburg in Germany. After the war broke out, I continued going to school, and where we lived out in the country, we were not affected by the war directly. Till 1942, my dad had accepted a job for the German occupation in the Ukraine. But then in 1944, when the war turned and Russia really started to advance fast, my dad said, "You better get out." So but we had no place to go. The apartment that we had was a business apartment and was not there anymore for us. So we moved in with my aunt in southern Bavaria. And she had refugees from people who had lost a home during bombing in Munich. And she had one bedroom with them, and she had a house full. And then the five of us moving into the house, it was pretty cramped. And on one day there was actually an air raid that was unexpected, and the house got hit, and I was out in the yard, and there was a bomb exploding like 50 feet away from me.
Wow.
Threw me on the ground, but I got up and I was not hurt. So,
wow.
and then we moved into the house, and all the clay shingles came down from the house, and it was pretty traumatic. In the spring, we moved back to Germany, to North Germany, and we had 3 rooms. There were guest rooms in a guest house.
Okay.
And our furniture was in storage in the ballroom of that guest house. There was no parties going on during the war. And that ballroom was a prison camp for Serbs, Serbian prisoners taken by the Germans. And so the war to us was war, but it was people, you know. They helped us and we helped them. And then in 1945, the British rolled in, and North Germany, there was no fighting. The mayor of Hamburg had turned the city over without fighting, and it just rolled in. And so the transition was fairly smooth, and of course the British was very kind to us. And in 1949, my dad wanted to move back to Munich. He had a job in Munich. So we moved to Munich. And by that time I was 16, and I was in a middle school, a little higher than the basic schooling. And when I tried to get back into the schooling in Munich, they wanted money. It was not free. In North Germany, if I kept my grades up, it was free, and there it was not for some reason. My dad says, "You have to go to work." I said, "Oops." I was 16 years old. So my uncle was an engineer in a printing plant, and he says, "Are you interested in photography?" And I touched the business with my dad's camera. I said, "Yeah, kind of, you know." And he says, "There's a job available as a process photographer, color separation photographer." I said, "Well, try it." So I introduced myself and went there, and I was accepted, and I became an apprentice in the color separation business. One day a week I had to go to trade school. And our trade school in Munich was part of the Graphic Arts Academy. So our training was really more intense than most other schools equal to ours. And 3 years later I graduated, and my uncle is a plant engineer out of 3 presses in the letterpress department. Out of 3 presses, he made one to run. So they finally started to run with one press. That's how they started out. And the name of the company was Kunst and Druck, which means art in print. And we did artist books and we did all kinds of interesting work. So it was a good trade. Well, while I was there at the printing plant, I got to know a sweetheart, Erica. And that goes back a while.
Yeah.
But got to know Erica and we kind of fell in love. But after about 3, 4, 5 months, I was over at her mom's house and she said, you know, we're leaving. And her father was reported killed in Russia. So her mother remarried a Ukrainian who was a displaced person who had run away from the Russians and was working in Germany. So he was a displaced person, and on a displaced person quota for America, they applied to come to America. So in 1952, they moved to America. And we got engaged, and Erica said, I'll look for a sponsor for you. So about a year or so later, she finds a sponsor. He was Nikolai Meshchenkov, a Russian guy, who had lived in Austria, married an Austrian woman, and came to America in 1949, and he was my sponsor. And so we get my stuff together, and it was kind of ironic. I left home on my mother's birthday.
Oh, really?
Well, that's how it worked out.
Yeah.
And I came over on the SS America.